Hello, my name is Virgil, and today I want to talk about Elizabeth Engstrom's When Darkness Loves Us. When Darkness Loves Us was originally published in 1985 and was reissued as part of the Paperbacks from Hell sort of reprints that Grady Hendrix sort of started, or I'm not exactly sure if he's in charge of that, or I'm not precisely certain about that, but that Valancourt Books does. And I kind of got this idea to read this book from Curtis at Deep in the Reads. He read it and talked about how it was a really great story, and I will tell you that it is in part. And before I go any farther, I just want to say that I won this really cool T-shirt from Black Hair Press. I was able to publish a very short story with them last year. They had a writing contest, and I won. The prize was the T-shirt, which I thought was pretty cool. I'll talk about that at the end of the video. The first of the two stories, the title story, When Darkness Loves Us, is about a woman who is recently married, and she's on her father and mother's farm. I think it's a farm. And they're sort of sealing up this cellar. And she realizes that she's never gone in there. And so while her father and husband are off doing work, she's like, I just want to see what's down here. Well, you can kind of imagine what's going to happen. She gets trapped in there and forgotten. That cellar leads into sort of a darker sort of cave, and she explores that. I don't want to talk too much more about it. When I originally sort of heard about this book or read about it, I thought that it was going to be, I guess, this descent into madness and just kind of follow that. But actually, that's not what the story does. At least, not that way. The story, what I really like about this story is it doesn't just sort of deal with those initial events. Like you think about oh, she's starving and it's dark and she's going crazy and she's hearing things. There's some of that, but it very quickly is sort of bored with that, or not exactly bored with it, but it just very quickly the story realizes that there's a whole lot more interesting things to do than just that. And it actually goes on and on, far beyond what I thought the story was ever going to be, into sort of this family saga type epic. It was actually kind of wonderful. I've never really seen a story that sort of made these decisions. It had a very interesting sort of Southern Gothic atmosphere to it too. And I got to tell you that it's absolutely worth the price of admission. It was a really great, just interesting take on the idea of just this woman getting trapped in this sort of cellar or something like that. It's out in this field that connects to this sort of cave system. Just a really great idea. I thought it was so cool. The second story, Beauty Is, I was not as enamored with. It follows a woman who is mentally handicapped, an older woman. And she lives in a small town, and the members of the town have sort of agreed through some arrangement with her mother to take care of her now that her family is all gone. And we follow this woman, and then we get flashbacks to her mother when she was young, and her father, and their marriage, and moving to this town and trying to start their life. And her mother discovering that she has this sort of supernatural ability to heal people. And that her husband feels that even though this ability is very beneficial, that there's a price, that there's something wrong, and that she's sinning. And it's very heavy on this aspect of you're sinning and this is wrong, and her mother just trying to do the right thing. And that's interesting. And then the story also takes a weird direction because it's a lot of flash forward back to Martha is the main character, back to Martha and the things that Martha's doing, and you get her perspective and relationships that develop. It was honestly, I thought it was a really, not necessarily bad, but really strange direction that things took. I don't want to reveal, I want to talk about it a little bit more, but I don't know how much I could say about it, although it has sort of a Flowers for Algernon sort of aspect to things. Sort of. Although I don't think that that's too unexpected considering how much screen time Martha gets. Was not as excited about that story. I just don't think that it had that really great gothic element that the first story did. The second story felt much more like a weird romance. And there's definitely a theme going through both stories of this sort of like a person, usually a woman, being not accepted by her own family, of sort of a estrangement from her family. The people who are supposed to care about her are just don't, and do kind of like terrible things to them, who just react in horrible ways. It makes me concerned for Elizabeth Engstrom's own childhood and history. But the stories are good. I mean, I will say the writing is great. I just wasn't as happy with where Beauty Is decided to go and what it sort of decided to do. It didn't feel like it had the same sort of gothic and sort of horror power that the first story did, in a very subdued way. And that's something I really enjoyed about the first story, is it's not a shock value story. It definitely went in a direction I just didn't expect. I really thought, I did not think this is how we were going to go. And I really liked it. It was great how much story was packed into that first part of the book. So the first part is absolutely worth the price of your admission. I mean, When Darkness Loves Us is totally worth buying this book for. Beauty is sort of an add-on, and you get a little more. And maybe somebody else would like it more than me. It wasn't that I disliked it. I just was kind of ambivalent about it, I guess. So there's that. But absolutely, go check out When Darkness Loves Us. Thank you so much to Curtis for reviewing it first. I'll have a link to his video, and you can check out what he had to say. Really a great read. I really did enjoy it. Even the second part, which I wasn't as excited about, I still enjoyed it. And then I guess if I'm going to talk about this, so there was Black Hair Press does a lot of microfiction. They publish specifically. They have a thing every month where they say, "Here's the theme: 100 words or less. Write something." Actually, not 100 words or less. Let me rephrase that. It's exactly 100 words. So you have to write. Here's a theme, and you have to write exactly 100 words, sort of gothic or scary story, horror story of some variety, with that theme in mind, right? And then they pool all these stories that they get, and they read them blindly, and then they make a selection. I think they select 12, and they do that every month. It's actually a lot of fun if you're interested. I'll have a link to Black Hair Press and their submissions. It's really great. It's sort of haiku-ish because of this weird restriction of exactly 100 words. You're constantly sort of trying to figure out how you can take a word away so you can add a word over here to say something else. Well, part of their private Facebook group, they posted a picture. I'll put the picture up. And the post was, if you want to win a t-shirt, write something about this picture, 200 words or less. So not exactly 200 words, but just 200 words or less. Okay, so I did, and I won, which was kind of cool. And I was a bit surprised by it, and they sent me the t-shirt, which was great. And I was also kind of surprised they decided they're going to publish those stories, the story that I wrote and numerous other stories, and all of which were really great. And I'll have a link to that as well if you're interested. I just think it's kind of cool. I really was a bit surprised. I honestly, the day that posted, that I saw, I was like, why is my name getting mentioned in this post? What is going on? And I'm like, oh, how cool. So it was really kind of cool. It was kind of exciting. It was a nice thing to wake up to. If you're interested in that, I'll have the link. That's it. Thanks very much for your time. My name is Virgil, and this is Literally Books. If you like listening to people ramble about books, well, I'll tell you that's something that I specialize in. So if you want to see more of that, you can always subscribe, all those wonderful things. You can do the bell thing. I'll tell you right now, personally, I never do the bell thing because I do not like getting emails. That's like a barrage of emails, but maybe you don't mind, or maybe maybe you manage your emails better than me. In any event, thank you very much for your time. That's it. Bye.